And we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Fan Cave podcast. We will be discussing the Wild West of NIL. I got my special host, Tony Hernandez, right here. And this is, again, the Fan Cave podcast. So, like I said, this is our very first podcast. So, no one knows who Joe Garcia is. So, let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Garcia. I am a former student athlete. I am an entrepreneur. I graduated with my computer science and engineering degree. I have a minor in business and math. So I have the brains and the bronze, okay? We brought this together because, I feel that there is this just strange, just cool thing about collegiate athletes, sports, where athletes are getting paid now. And we're doing this podcast so that we can educate folks, so that we can teach folks about what NIL is, because I, like 95% of America, we know what NIL is, but we just don't really know, all right? So I have my co-host here, Ben. He's in the background. Don't worry. He's going to help me out. He's going to keep me in line, keep me in track, make sure I'm not going everywhere. And real quick, be sure to follow us on all our socials. We are on, and we're going to be actually streamed on all our podcast streams on YouTube and Spotify. Be sure to like us. Be sure to go follow us, because it will, once we get this all cut up, edited, those will be on that platform for your convenience. So, but like I said, this whole podcast is all about my man, Tony, right here, okay? This man knows a lot about NIL. I, for one, am super excited and super happy to hear what my man has to say. So, first, go ahead and give me your name and kind of tell me your background and experience in this NIL arena.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I'm excited to be here and be a part of this first ever podcast for the Fan Cave, so that's awesome. My name's Tony Hernandez. I've been involved in college athletics for 26 years as a high-level administrator. I love college athletics. There's nothing better than college sports out there. It is fantastic. I love everything about it. That's why I've made it really part of my life. And if you talk to my kids, they'll tell you my dad loves college sports. I mean, I'm all about it. I love sports in general, but nothing like college sports. So I love it. NIL is new, as you talked about. I was at 2 Power 5 schools for 26 years, and now I'm a consultant in the business. So I work with a bunch of different schools around the country, and I'm very involved and very knowledgeable about the NIL space. So NIL has been around for almost 2 years now. It's new. Former student athlete, I hear it all the time, like you just said. I wish that might have been around when I was involved or when I was playing. So I get it, but it provides great opportunity for our current student athletes done correctly. So it's an awesome thing.
And this is why I'm getting excited, because look at that. That was good. That was amazing. And when we touch on all this, I'm going to be able to give my side of being a former student athlete on that as well. So I would like to kind of give a big shout out to Fan Inc. That is the company that is sponsoring this show. The app actually is available for download right now. So go to your platforms, make sure you download it. Get to know us, all right? Again, we're all on all social media platforms. Get to know us. Get to come like us and see what Fan Inc.'s all about. So real quick, I'm going to just kind of bring this to our level right here, okay? Yes, I am a former athlete, and I, for one, I am so for NIL, okay? It's changing the fabric of everything in collegiate athletics, and I think not just athletics alone, because I think we were talking, there is cheerleaders, there's, just different types of, individuals taking advantage of this NIL. So, so I have a lot of questions. So you got to be ready for it.
Sure, I'm ready.
We're going to talk about them here in a second. But I will say this. So let's talk a little bit about you. So what kind of got you? I know you said that you've been in sports all your life, 2 Power 5 schools already. I think that's pretty dope. You have to tell me what those were. I know a little bit. So are you a former athlete? Did you play sports, or just kind of give me a little background about you?
No, I played a high school football. You're not going to get any Al Bundy stories out of me. I wasn't that great. I could have never played. I went to the University of Miami. I could have never played there.
Okay.
I was a defensive tackle in high school. and the starter was Warren Sapp at that position. His backup was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh.
So I would have never, ever been able to walk on or do anything in the realm of football there. I know my limitations, and they were far away from that. So I did not play college sports at all. When I ended up going to law school. When I was in law school, as the world turns, I got offered a graduate assistantship in the athletic department. I took it to help pay for part of my law school tuition. I thought it was great. And lo and behold, I never knew I could make a career at college athletics, and I was able to do it. So from there, I grew and just kept working in college athletics. I worked at the University of Miami for 19 years, and then worked here at Texas Tech for 6 years before I went out and started my own company. So love both schools, have a great passion, like I said, for college athletics, and just great opportunities that were provided to me, and I love every aspect of it.
So I'm going to jump in this real quick. I'm going to touch this real quick. So talk to me about University of Miami. I actually went to Miami about a year ago, and that was my very first time there, and I absolutely had a blast there. So I can only imagine the sports during that era. I'm assuming, what were the years you were there?
I was in the 90s. I was there.
And even then, like I said, during those just years of Miami Hurricane football, that's pretty neat. That's awesome. I love hearing that. So you said you got your degree.
My undergrad was finance, and I got a law degree.
You got your law degree,
yes.
And so that's where you got into the kind of the compliance side, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So it was a natural fit. So I did day-to-day compliance for about 10 years before my professional career grew and advanced to oversee multiple areas of the athletic department. Eventually was a deputy athletic director at both schools, overseeing chief operating officer. So fortunate, I'd say I've been on the field for a national championship football game. I've been on the court for a Final Four finals game, championship game. Not too many people can say they've had the opportunities to do those type of things.
Y'all didn't tell me y'all were going to sit me next to royalty over here. Like, I'm actually really excited now. So
just good opportunity. That's all it is.
Okay, let's kind of get into this. Okay, so look, I'm like 95% of Americans, right? When I am looking at the NIL, I want to read this definition. I want to read this definition so that I think everybody can be on my page as well. When it comes to what the NIL is, this is the definition, and then we're just going to kind of dive into it, because I am so curious on this realm of NIL, and that's why this is the wild, wild west of NIL. And, we're just going to, you and I, figure it out together, okay? The NIL is the concept of name, image, and likeliness, a policy that allows college athletes to profit from their personal brand. This monumental shift in NCAA regulations grants student athletes the authority to enter into endorsement deals, monetize their social media platforms, and participate in other business ventures without jeopardizing their collegiate eligibility. It marks a significant development in the balance of power between institutions and student athletes, offering new avenues for athletes to benefit financially from their sporting prowess and recognition. Like I said, it just opens up so much doors.
It does, no doubt about it.
And the definition alone, to me, like I said, that's the first time I read that. I always knew what NIL is. I didn't know it was name, image, likenesses. I'll be honest with you. But what are the two main, like just right off the top of your head, how are athletes getting paid right now?
So about 75% of current NIL deals around the country are social media deals. Okay. So where a student athlete gets a business or a person to pay them to post or do a story or about that company. So take a company, comes to student athlete and say, can you promote our product? They go on their social media and they promote their product. That's about 75% of NIL deals there. Okay. The next biggest one, most likely, would be personal appearances. So it could be something as simple as parents saying, hey, student athlete A, will you come to my child's birthday party? And pays them to come to their child's birthday party. There's a lot of that happening. It could be much bigger than that. It could be a corporate event or something that draws a lot more attention depending on the student athlete. But you're seeing all types of deals out there. I mean, it is the number of NIL deals, it's got to be in the millions that are happening right now across the country.
So you're telling me they work out a deal to go to kids' birthday parties?
Absolutely. You could have made money, Joe. You could have been a guest at people's birthday parties.
I could see. So you're saying 75% are dealing with like more
social media yes.
business. Hey, here's my product. Here in exchange for I'll post it on yours, whatever. And then you're saying that, hey, come to our birthday party or something to that nature, kind of.
Yeah, and then probably the next would be actual like gear, apparel. You're seeing student athletes' name, image, and likeness on a T-shirt, a jersey, their name on the back of jerseys. Now you're able to buy those type of things. That's probably the next category where they license the rights for their name, image, or likeness. It could be any of the three. To be on apparel or a product.
I love it.
A poster, anything like that. A digital trading card. A digital asset.
A college video game back when I played.
Yes, and now that's coming back.
It's actually coming back,
yes.
Which is actually pretty neat. My buddy actually sent me a little screenshot of when I played in NCAA 2000. I think it was 6 to 8. And of course, there's my little avatar, had my number and everything. And I was from Clover. I remember the town was Clover or something like that. It was something funny. But no, that's actually very interesting. And I've always wondered that, like, how are they getting paid? And I'm assuming, you beat the nail on that head, which is social media, about 75%. And then the other 25% is kind of just one-offs, like come to my birthday party or put my name on a T-shirt, sell it. I'm assuming.
And you do have a group of student athletes that are very high level. They have agents that are doing this business for them, very transactional driven. Then you have the majority of student athletes are not that organized. They're doing it on a case-by-case basis. They're doing the jerseys or they're doing the birthday parties, social media posts, but very simple aspect of it. But you do have a group of student athletes around the country that are very organized about it, that have agents that are out there marketing them and everything else.
Interesting. Okay. Well, and help me out, because this is why we did this podcast, because you're going to be helping me out a lot, because I'm a sponge right now. And when I'm a sponge, I just like to retain a lot of information. So then now I know how it works. I can talk with smarts, with, education about any topic. So I'm soaking this in. Talk to me about this. With NCAA, like, what made them decide to just change this? And when did they change it?
So a little over 2 years ago. They didn't decide.
No, okay.
They got pushed into it.
They got pushed.
Yeah. State legislatures, beginning with California, and then a bunch followed suit, said in the state of X in California, all our student athletes are allowed to accept money for name, image, and likeness. NCAA bylaws cannot trump state or federal laws. So when that happened, it started the whole process. And then a little over 2 years ago, the NCAA said, okay, every state can do it regardless of if you have a state law or not.
Okay.
And then so there's still some states that don't have NIL laws. Some do. There's a big push for federal legislation on it so that every state has the same law and every student athlete around the country and schools playing with a level playing field with the same rules. But who knows where that traction goes. But there is a push for federal legislation. So the NCAA was pushed into NIL. They knew, I think everybody in the business knew that the day was coming, but not when the day was coming. And then so they had no choice but to do it. And then once one state did it, they had to open up the doors for every state to be allowed to do it, every school in every state to be able to do it.
That makes sense.
Or every student athlete really to benefit from it.
Yes. And why? And I say this: does it have a dramatic effect on bigger schools, your Power 5 schools? Well, now Power 4. I think should we start saying Power 4 now?
We'll see.
So now that we have these bigger schools with bigger budgets, does that kind of affect where certain athletes go, or like?
Yes, I'm sure it does. I can't pinpoint exactly what, but it's kind of crazy, Joe. So the NCAA rules say that although a student athlete can do name, image, and likeness, it shouldn't be involved in recruiting.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you a scenario.
Yes, that's what I'm here
Joe
for.
Garcia, you're, let's say, a starting point guard, okay? And you're being recruited by University X.
Right.
All right, University X, the coach is sitting down with you at a table. I'm the coach, you're the student athlete, right? It says, I can't tell you you're going to get X amount of dollars or you're going to get how much money you're going to get now, but I could tell you this. Former student athlete or the student athlete that was the point guard was getting this, this, and this. And Joe, you look a lot like him, if that makes sense. So I can't tell you you're going to get X, but I can tell you look a lot like the point guard that was getting this. So one's okay with NCAA rules and one is not. So that's where there's a lot of gray involved. And compliance is hard. I mean, it really is. So that's where they're pushing for federal legislation. Because NCAA is very cautious in what they can regulate and what they can't. They're trying to regulate the recruiting side, but they can't really regulate your value.
Right.
So your value is what somebody's willing to pay you, right?
Right.
I mean, so they can't come in and say, Joe, you're only worth $10, even though they want to pay you $20, because if they were willing to pay you $20, that's your value. So they can't regulate that. So there's a lot of struggles in the compliance side of it, which is why it's so awesome what Fan Inc. is doing, is that they're giving the opportunity to student athletes to be able to create a profile, have a digital asset created for them, educate and provide financial literacy to that student athlete, and then allow fans to go on and buy a digital trading asset of that student athlete. So they're really combining everything into one thing where it really simplifies the whole process. Gotcha. And that's a great thing.
And you bring up great points there, because I do, being a former athlete, you just start to see all the goods, but you definitely see the bads. And that's why I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this podcast because I wanted to talk about a lot of the bads on what can happen when it comes to student athletes getting taken advantage of, and great solutions like you just brought up, Fan Inc. And we'll talk about that. We're gonna hammer that in because I found that solution, and whenever we talked about it, I thought it was just absolutely amazing. It was amazing on how Fan Inc. has simplified NIL, and so I think that's going to be we're going to be really touch on that. So when you help me out here, athletes need to protect their brand, right?
Correct.
Right now, is there a way to do that right now, or?
I think it's being educated. I mean, so I'll give you a great example. There's people out there trying to take advantage of the athletes, which is awful, but it is happening. I'm going to give a great example. Dexter, is a defensive lineman of the Chicago Bears, okay. Was at the University of Florida, was a second-round draft pick. He has filed a lawsuit this past weekend.
There you go.
So when he signed a deal when he was in college for $436,000, a lot of money for a college student athlete, right? No doubt about it. Do you know what he gave up?
Time out. You said 436?
436,000.
4,300. No, okay.
No, $436,000.
Gotcha. We're on the same page now.
A lot of money. But you know what he gave up for it? He gave up, and this is why he's filed a lawsuit saying that the contract wasn't valid. Okay. He gave up 15% of his pre-tax NFL earnings for the next 25 years. He was a second-round draft pick. He probably already paid that back with his first contract. 15. So that's what the company signed him to. Yes, you get $436,000. A lot of money, no doubt about it. But he gave up, for the next 25 years, 15% of his NFL earnings, pre-tax NFL earnings.
The very wild west of NIL.
There's such a need for the education side, the financial literacy. I mean, so when you're entering into a contract that's $436,000, you better know what you're signing. I mean, you got to be aware. You got to be educated on it. You got to get solid advice from people that have a reputation that they're able to help you. They're educated as well. I'll be honest, when I was 21 years old, was not prepared to sign a $436,000 deal.
I'd agree with you.
I probably would have sought help, but I wasn't prepared for it. So that's why it's so important that we educate the student athletes. They're not going to know everything. They're not going to know exact contract, but should they go talk to an accountant? Should they go talk to a lawyer if you're signing that type of deal? That's important. And you're signing a deal of that magnitude, it is not kid stuff. I mean, this is real business, real life things that they need to be aware of. And that lawsuit was just filed in the last 5 days. He's filed a lawsuit saying that the contract should be invalid. Now, where it goes, I have no clue.
I had to circle that, Ben, because that is definitely something we're going to talk about. And this is why this podcast right here, because I would have never known. I always knew that, again, you see the goods of NIL.
And there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good, right? But I know it's a contract. There can be a lot of bad. And when we're starting to put it out on the table, we're starting to talk about it, people need to hear stories like that so that they know it's out there, and you've got to protect your brand. So,
Right.
So, in your opinion, this is your opinion. It's not right? Like, I would take your opinion over everything because you're just experienced. And, you said you have almost like 30 years in sports.
It just means I'm old, Joe. That's all that means.
You don't look a day over 25, buddy. Okay,
we need to get some glasses
you look
on, Joe.
Great. Okay, you look fantastic. So, talk to me. In your opinion, how has this new rule changed collegiate athletics?
It's changed it a lot. I mean, no doubt about it. It's become part of the core of college athletics.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think everybody should be able to benefit from the name, image, and like this. Quite honestly, everybody but student athletes have had the opportunity to do that. I mean, for years, professional athletes, entertainers, YouTube influencers, they've been doing it. I mean, right? I mean, that's been happening for years. Yeah. So I think at its core, it's wonderful. Now, when it starts impacting recruiting to the level it has or can, that's not what it's intended to do. Okay. It is, though. But I think everybody should earn whatever they deserve. I mean, so if you're doing work to promote something and the company's willing to pay you that, great, go for it. So I'm all for NIL at its core. I think it belongs in college athletics. I think it's very good for college athletics. I do believe that there are people trying to take advantage of that, and that's where you got to make sure that you align yourself with the people that are not, and they're doing it the right way, and they're compliant, and they're regulated, and all those things that you want to see in whoever you align yourself with. But at its core, NIL is a very good thing. I think people should be able to have that right. Student athletes should have that right. I think it's a great opportunity for them to get educated, become better business people in the future. Can you imagine? You got well educated in college. We all did. But can you imagine if you added the whole fact that you were actually doing business deals and signing contracts and reading contracts? I mean, that's real life stuff that you get an opportunity for 20, 21-year-old, 18-year-old to learn. Right. That's crucial. I mean, that's real life stuff that you could benefit from knowing all that, how to pay taxes. When I was 18, I didn't know how to pay taxes. I mean, I was like, what? I got to give money? And then, but you learn all that. I mean, it's because it's a real business sense to it. I mean, we're talking about real dollars here, and some of them very significant dollars. And student athletes need to learn the financial aspect of it, paying taxes, filing their taxes, making sure that they're investing their money. Right. Some of them are getting significant money that they should be investing, how to budget correctly. All those things, that financial literacy component is so important that the NIL gives them that opportunity to learn all that.
I am for NIL all day. It does make me a little salty, but again, that 430,000, I think, that kind of spin me for a loop just a little bit. But so, talk to me, the public. How has it been, in your realm? How has the public viewed the NIL? Has it been a really positive for specific individuals, or I don't know. I'm just kind of curious because you hear both sides, but I think on the media side, you just only see the good. You see the big stuff. So
yeah, I think the public perception of NIL has been positive overall. I think people feel that college athletes should earn, what they deserve, and that aspect of it. They probably are not getting all the true stories like the one I just mentioned about Dexter. You're blown away by 436,000. How about Jaden Rashada? He was a quarterback out of California. He's now at Arizona State, but he was beneficiary, or would have been a beneficiary, of a bidding war between some schools, essentially. And a collective at the University of Florida offered him a $13 million NIL deal. Now, that collective has since gone bankrupt, and I'm not sure all the details are facts, and this is all what's reported by the media. But, I mean, you're talking about $13 million. You're an 18-year-old kid. He might have been 17 at the time. He's coming out of high school. 13. Yes. So, now, I don't think he got any, or maybe he got some, but he definitely didn't. He left and went to Arizona State. But those type of things are out there. Those stories are out there. Again, student athletes need to be educated. They need to know what they're doing. Right. The parents need to help them, or their advisors, or whoever's involved in their life. He really needs to help them.
Now, you mentioned, I heard the word collective. What's a collective?
Collective is a word that just got put together. It's really, at its core, it's a group of supporters of an institution that get together and provide an opportunity for student athletes at that school to have NIL deals.
Okay.
So most schools around the country have collectives or multiple collectives. They're not run by the school. They're really not part of the school at all, but it's a group of donors. It could be one donor or it could be thousands of donors that have donated money into this or provided money into this collective. The reason I changed on the donation part is because there's some question from the IRS of whether they're not-for-profits or not. The IRS has simply said they're not-for-profits. So that becomes a whole other issue that probably don't want to bore the public with. But essentially, they make payments to this collective, and then the collective decides how they want to sign student athletes to NIL deals. It could be some schools, they sign posters and sell those, or they do community service projects. Every collective is a little different on how they do it. And then they make payments to those student athletes that have signed with them to do deals. So, but collectives essentially is a collection of donors from a specific school that sign NIL deals to benefit student athletes at that school. Okay. So you really don't have a collective. So University X has a collective to benefit University X. That collective doesn't help other student athletes at other schools, typically.
And see, this is good to hear because, like I said, when we talk about this here in a second, on how Fan Inc. has actually came out with an amazing platform that simplifies that initiative. Would you agree or a little bit?
Yes, I agree. I think what it does, it provides opportunities for fans of any university around the country to provide to purchase a digital trading asset of a student athlete at the school that they want to and provide funds to that student athlete from that purchase. The other part that I'll say that Fan Inc. does that's tremendous is of any similar type product around the country or platform around the country, they charge the lowest rate imaginable. The student athlete is actually getting 96.5% of the proceeds from that sale of their digital trading asset. No other platform out there is providing 96.5% to a student athlete. I mean, that's unheard of.
So we will definitely be touching on that aspect because I don't even think that you can kind of like trade cards for a 10% fee. Like there's some type of 10, 15, 20% fee on any type of major platform. I mean, I think you try to Venmo something, you get a hit with like a 15% fee.
Try eBay or something like that. You're getting hit with a lot of fees.
There
Absolutely.
You go. So that's actually interesting. So, and I know, and this will be the last question, and I definitely want to bring you in. We've got to have another, because I feel like we can have a full podcast on just, compliance alone, with everything changing in the NIL structure, just changing constantly. I'm sure we can have a whole podcast on just that.
It does change constantly. I mean, it's never evolving. It's forever. There's always something new, a new group involved in it. Something's happening. Somebody gets creative and does something else. There's always something new in the space.
Okay. And from your knowledge, what are the potential risks and opportunities associated with NIL? And as we've touched a little bit, your brand identity a little bit, but I'm sure that's just one of them. What else could there be? Like, what do you?
Yeah, the brand's obviously important. I mean, not only that, but your brand carries you forever, right?
Right.
Joe, your brand is the same brand it was 20 years ago, and it will be in 20 years. And what you do today impacts your brand for 20 years. I mean, this is reality. So student athletes need to know that. And that's easier said than done when you're 18, 19, 20 years old. What you do then matters for a lifetime. I mean, it really does, especially nowadays. So your brand is extremely important. But I think the biggest risk and threat, quite honestly, is the financial component to it. And why it's so important, and I'll take one part of it, taxes.
Taxes.
So you get $436,000. Uncle Sam probably deserves about $125,000, $130,000 of that, right? You don't pay Uncle Sam $130,000. What happens to you?
I didn't even fathom taxes.
You're in deep trouble for a long period of time. I mean, because if you spent that $436,000, how do you come up with $130,000 that quick to pay taxes, right? So the fact that now, say this, one of the greatest things I think the Fan Inc. does is that it deducts the tax rate that you ask them to deduct for you, and then pays that taxes for you, so that that when you do have to go come April 15th and you have to pay your taxes, that a portion of your taxes have already been paid for at whatever you dictated you wanted them to deduct has already been paid to the federal government. The IRS already has that money, and you're good to go. really every other company I'm aware of that's involved in aerospace does not do that. So they'll tell you, oh, remember you got to pay taxes. Well, that's great, but I'm 19 years old and I just blew the money.
I just blew it.
Right? You just blew it. And it could be as simple as you collected, $20,000 in a year, right? Well, you've collected $20,000. Your tax rate is probably about $4,000 of that, but you spent the 20. Now, Joe, you owe me $4,000. And that's a problem.
It's a very big problem.
And that problem, as you know, with the IRS, with the interest and how it can grow and grow and grow, and it could become a much bigger problem for its student athletes. So this is a full year of NIL money. It'll be interesting to see come tax time how it impacts student athletes, because the reality is that it could be a huge problem for them. Some student athletes are getting cars, for example.
Yeah.
Well, the IRS has a taxable rate on the lease value of a vehicle. I mean, it's a standard form, and they'll tax you on it. It's really high. So you just get a car. You're not even getting cash. You got a car. You got a car for a year. Your taxes are really high on that car. So it's that education component and the financial literacy. That, to me, is the biggest risk. It could be a great benefit to those student athletes that learn about it. And then they know for life how it works. But if you don't, it could catch you, and it could be ugly really fast.
My mind is absolutely blown right now because I didn't even think about taxes. I didn't think about taxes till I got out of college. And so I can only imagine what I was doing at that age if I had that type of money. You're totally right. I would have blew every single penny of that.
And I would have too. I'm not wronging that, but it's so important for them to be educated on that and learn about that.
There you go.
And have tax deducted if it's possible, because it's so much easier to pay as you're getting the money. To be so organized in your life to put that money aside is hard. Especially you're 18, 19, 20 years old. Are you that committed to doing it that way? And that is really difficult. It's hard when you're older. It doesn't matter. But nobody really does that for you. And that's where one of the greatest things that Fan Inc. does is that they're willing to do that. They deduct taxes. They pay them on your behalf. So that way it's one less thing you have to worry about. You're educated on it when you make the decision how much tax they should withhold, because that's your decision. So you're educated on it, and then you really don't have to worry about it come April 15th. Your taxes have been paid on the money you received from them, at least.
Like I said, I'm eating this up right now, and this is absolutely amazing. So, in real quick, let's go ahead and jump into Fan Inc. I want to make sure this segment, again, like I said, everybody, this is brought to you by Fan Inc. Again, go follow our handles, Instagram and TikTok at MyFanInc. Okay, go follow, go like, because everything you're hearing, you're listening is going to be on those platforms. It's going to be there quick for you to understand this, like I said, wild, wild west of NIL and the solution. I think we have a great solution. This is why I came on board, because I absolutely loved how simple it was. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about Fan Inc. Let's talk about how Fan Inc. was designed to help solve said problems that we just discussed. Solve, and help, fans like myself that knew a little bit about NIL, but we wanted to help, but we didn't have $5,000 to give to these collectives. Is that what you're calling collectives? Sure. Or if you did give to them, you don't know if it's going to the player you want it to go to, everything like that. So long story short, Fan Inc., let's talk about that company. And I know we keep harping on it and we're excited about it. So, tell me where to start. Like, what is Fan Inc.? Talk to me about that.
Fan Inc. is really a company that provides a great platform to the student athletes at schools all over the country, really at any school. The opportunity to create a profile, then have that profile become part of a digital trading asset that then can be sold to fans of that school that go on and they like a softball student athlete, a baseball student athlete, football student athlete. It doesn't matter the sport. It gives them the opportunity, the fan, to go and purchase that digital trading asset. That digital trading asset then gets delivered to the fan. So they always have a unique trading card of that student athlete that they like and they decided to purchase. And it gives them the opportunity to do it at a nominal value. I mean, it could be $30, not the $5,000 that you might need to give to a collective. So it gives that casual, everyday fan the opportunity to help student athletes, but more importantly, really engage that school and that student athlete and be a part of them by helping them and know they're directly helping a student athlete and that value that brings to that fan. So it's just a great platform. It's easy, provides a student athlete education. Like I said, so important that they provide them the opportunity to deduct taxes as well. And it provides them a large majority of the purchase price, which at 96.5%. No one else is doing that around the country. So they sell a digital trading card. Let's say it's for $100. That student athlete gets $96.50 put into their banking card that they've signed up when they signed up for their profile. And it really provides a seamless, simple transaction for everybody involved. So it's easy for the fan, easy for the student athlete, and it really is wholesome. It brings everyone together and does it in a very simple fashion. So I mean, I love Fan Inc. I think it's. I hope that student athletes all over the country use it. That fans utilize it as a way to help and purchase something of that student athlete, and therefore there's a transaction that happens. They're purchasing, so it's completely compliant. It's heavily regulated by the banking industry. So everything that's happened is above board, which, like I've shared some stories, that's not the case around the country in a lot of aspects. So it really provides a very simple, clean transaction for everybody involved.
So, and I got to be honest with you, because I, like a lot of people, I've got to be explaining things kind of like I'm a fifth grader. Sure. And so based off of what you said, I'm going to simplify this for all my peeps that like this. Like, we hear, I get it. My man knows a lot, and I think I broke it down, though. So you're saying that if I download this app,
right,
I can go buy an NFT, which an NFT is just a digital collectible that is on the blockchain that basically says, I own this, and I pay $100. And that collectible can be that athlete I want. So
it would be that athlete.
It would be that. Correct. It would be that athlete.
Yes.
Okay. And so that athlete, then, if I put $100 in, he would actually get $96 of that money.
$96.50 he would get, or he or she would get of that money. So it's, again, as simple as it comes. Well, let me change that. That student athlete, he or she would get $96.50 minus any taxes they decided to withhold. So they decided to withhold at 20%, they would have 20% deducted and then deposited. But it is as simple as going on there, download the app. You can download it as a fan or a student athlete, and there'll be a different sign up, obviously, but you register as a fan, you create a profile as a student athlete, but it is as simple as can be. I mean, anybody got it. Joe, you got it, I promise.
And do not keep explaining it just like you did, because I feel like I'm that middleman to where I believe I understood what he said. So let me put that in words to which I can understand. I'm a fifth grader. I like to say I'm a small little kid that tries to just learn everything. Okay,
you're a little kid in a big man's body.
I'm telling you that's me. Okay, and I know I have this in my notes here that says, like, how do we, like, when I say where to start, how do we identify potential brands? Like, I know that we have these notes here, but I'm going to go a little bit off the topic a little bit. So, organizing NIL deals and ensuring compliance. What I heard from your solution was, it's as simple as downloading the app, buy the NFT, and you can hold your taxes. Are we missing anything in the compliance realm when it comes to NIL on this app, or do we have it all? I mean, it's
compliant. It is compliant, and it's kept as simple as possible. It really is. That's what I love about it. It is clean and easy. There's no organizing. I don't have to go get 50 friends to do it. You do it yourself. You go on there and you create your fan profile, and you go in and you purchase softball student athlete at University X, and that's who you sit there and you watch the game, and your son or daughter love how they play and how they play the game, and you guys are just fans as a family, and you go in and say, you know what, I want to buy an NFT of them for $50, and just go ahead and do it. It's self-organized. That's the beauty of it.
It makes me kind of want to open that door of, would this be a great initiative for collectives to hop in and say, hey, could we do something with Fan Inc. and says, will distribute to all our athletes using this simple platform?
It could absolutely be used by collectives as a way to provide education to student athletes, financial literacy, have them open the bank account, make the transaction with them. So it could simplify the life of a collective too, because it's not easy to pay taxes and do all the back of the house financial transactions. Fan Inc. can do all that. I mean, it really can. And then it's front facing. The student athlete knows they're getting the money, the collective's involved, but the student athlete gets the money at the end of the day, and they get everything that they're supposed to get, minus very nominal fees. But it is as simple and as clean as possible. And Fan Inc. provides that opportunity, whether it be a collective or an individual. And that's the beauty of it. It could be anyone. It could be 1,000 people. It could be one person. That's what I like about it. Anyone can do it. So when you sign up for your Fan Inc. profile, you create a bank account, FDIC insured bank account. You get a debit card from them. Also, all the deposits are FDIC insured. They're heavily regulated. They got to do it the right way. It's a part of the banking industry. Then with that debit card, the student athlete could either take money out, make purchases on it like anybody else's regular debit card with their account. So the money gets deposited into his account, and they have their debit card and they got to use it right away.
So y'all just told me that we've made it even simpler. So we said that you download this app, you actually get a debit card if you're a student athlete, and now this debit card will transact and say, if someone donates money to my cause, it goes directly to that card.
You don't have to worry about getting a check or waiting for payment or waiting for that ACH to come across.
I think I have a couple more years of eligibility. Let me start stretching. Let me see.
Joe, you might have to stretch a lot, buddy.
Yeah, I can feel it right here. I'll pop my back.
I hear the cracking is what I'm hearing.
It popped right there. I think I can do it though. You're in compliance, right? We can figure something out.
You got one good play left in you, right?
No, and I keep saying this, the simplicity. That's what technology, Fan Inc. has done that. And I think that's why I was like, I would love to talk about NIL. I would love to listen and understand. And now I'm listening to the man himself, Tony, talk about the simplicity of Fan Inc. and what they've done to the NIL to be able to help athletes, help colleges with that medium right there. That's just the wild, wild west of NIL. It's freaking amazing.
It's about opportunity. It creates opportunity for the fan and for the student athletes to engage, make contributions, be educated on the student athlete side, and for the fan to be able to engage and provide resources to a student athlete that they enjoy watching them play the game that they love.
That's awesome. Well, and we'll wrap this up because I will sit here and talk your ear off because I love being that kid in the candy store, just, like walking around saying, ooh, I like this. I like hearing this. And we can just talk all day. So let's talk about this again. Key points. We talked about the goods, and I'm, for one, a fan of NIL. I love seeing my athletes getting paid for what I believe they should. We've talked about the bads. We've talked about taxes being number one. I think that was, I did under the table on that. Taxes. Talk about the brand identity, where the protection of your brand name, signing contracts you don't know, you just don't understand. There's just so much going on. And of course, the solution being, let's make and use technology to simplify it. And Fan Inc.'s app does that for both the fan and the athlete as well. So totally awesome. I really do appreciate you coming and taking the time to just educate myself. I'm not gonna lie, I'm being very stingy with this. He really educated me, but y'all actually got to get and hear a lot of information as well. So just saying. But our next topic though, we're actually gonna sit down and actually talk to a student athlete, and I'm going to break down how he loves NIL, because this is going to be cool. Because I want to be a little jealous and be like, you got NIL, and he's going to be just excited. But no, I believe we're going to go ahead and schedule Pop Isaacs for our second podcast, to where we can sit down and just hear from an athlete's perspective the NIL.
That's going to be great. It really is going to be a great perspective to get. You're probably going to be really jealous.
Well, you got me ready because I was like 4,300. No, wait, he said 430,000. That's what he said.
You're gonna leave.
I mean,
leave after that.
well, I just. Whew.
You started stretching then?
I did. I said, I got another. I got my hammy. We're good. So no, I really do. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the Fan Cave. And when the Fan Cave, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about NIL. We're going to talk and bring in athletes. We're going to bring back my man Tony because again, I believe that there's a lot that we just barely touched the tip of the surface of this. And I do. We want to bring you back. We're going to definitely set up another podcast with you and just chat more compliance, NIL, and kind of dive even deeper into your realm, okay? But again, be sure, everybody, like, subscribe, share all our content. We're on all social media platforms, primarily TikTok and Instagram. And of course, we are going to be streaming on YouTube and Spotify. So if you ever check it out.
The app is live.
Yeah, the app is live at my Fan Inc., right? Go out there and download it. It's easy. Whether you're a fan, a student athlete, go do it.
There it is. And we are signing off. Good job, everybody.